So this is my thematic journal for the representation readings. The articles that were with this was the wrestling masculinity, the eroticizing men, and then the performing gender and music videos articles, as well as the films that we had to watch. I only did the Mickey Mouse Monopoly one, and that's where I'm going to actually start. I really liked this video. It was basically about how Disney represents cultures and people in the wrong way. Across the board, there are so many movies that basically are overtly racist, sexist, and biased. Some of those examples, Pocahontas for one, the relationships between the Indians and the white men's, the history that it's completely erasing the genocide that occurred when the settlers first came to America and killed thousands of Indians. The relationship that Pocahontas had with John Smith that never even existed. So that the second example that the Disney movie that stuck out to me was Aladdin, and the undertones of racism that it played. Disney has a history of portraying minorities in such a bad light. Like the movie Oliver and Company, they talked about how the little chihuahua in that movie was basically dirty, and how he was always trying to get involved with crime, and the way that he dealt with the other female dogs in that movie. It's basically a lot of coding. I think that's the word I want to use. That's just really what that movie was about. It was really interesting, and I really enjoyed watching it, but it really made me rethink the Disney magic, because I didn't realize that all of these movies had such a negative effect on me as a child. I didn't realize that I always had thought about my fairy tale and my prince, and how it was creating an unrealistic expectation of men for me as a straight female. And also it made me have unrealistic expectations about sexuality and my body even. These hypersexualized female characters with wide hips and tiny waists and big boobs and big bright eyes and long eyelashes. It creates a standard of beauty for not only myself, but for young girls that watch this. So I got a lot out of that. The next article that I'm going to talk about is the eroticizing men, and how and cultural influence on advertising and male objection. Essentially, this piece wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but basically it was about the profiting of male sexualization, and how companies, advertisers, and a lot of people use men as a form of advertising that kind of fetishizes that, I don't know, how men are. And it's basically over-sexualized. The article then gets into the development of using gay men in advertisements, and how the history of advertising to a homosexual community, and then how they basically recanted and threw away their association with gay culture after the AIDS movement. And then how kind of in the 90s they started kind of getting towards targeting the gay community, using different coding systems in order to not offend the heterosexual audience that they were trying to target, but also to where the homosexual community could understand and could be, I don't want to say this, but catered to. gay men, quote unquote, were viewed as a high risk group, and that is what initially made them stop looking at them. The male objectification also gives young men an unrealistic expectation for their bodies. They're fed this view of what they should look like, and now they're dissatisfied because they want to have this athletic tone, and that's literally what these articles were about. And then this kind of goes into the next article that I'm going to talk about, which is the WWE one. This one was about, sorry, I'm trying to pull up my notes. Okay, sorry. So this is the Wrestling with Masculinity, and the message is about manhood. This article basically was just about how the negative impacts on these overly aggressive tones and the violence that is presented to young males through the WWE. It created a different type of gender culture, and it basically made it a game. It made violence a game. This was more kind of a case study, I would like to say, and more of a research as opposed to an informative article. But basically, in this article, men were asked to prove their manhood through acts of violence. And it's so problematic. And the displays of aggression that were seen throughout WWE, which made others question their manhood. And it talks about the messages of manhood, and it's really problematic. And that a real man settles things physically and takes control of situations and confronts things on. And this is the ideal masculine behavior that it means to be a manly man. This is something that I've honestly witnessed firsthand, because growing up, my brother and I used to watch WWE and Raw, and we used to love wrestling. And I really now can see why a lot of his character, why he is the way he is, his hypermasculinity, some of his homophobic tendencies are due to the fact of programming like this that teaches young men to be overly masculine and violent, for lack of better words. The last article that I'm going to talk about is the performing gender in music videos. I don't really have much to say about this. This was more of a study that was done about music videos, male and female, the sexualization of male and females, how the images that are presented in in music videos contribute to society, kind of how music videos themselves cater towards sexualized idealizations of girls, the way that women are presented in male music videos, and the kind of the dominance that men preside over women in male music videos. And then also women, when they're the subject of the music video, when it's their music videos, the over-sexualization of them, it really is just about the objectification of women in general. And yeah, so that is my representation thematic journal.